All right, Bayliner party people. It's time to winterize our boat. We've got everything all set up. What I do is I put everything in a box at the end of the year that I don't use, but I have my winterization box here that has everything I need. I need my fuel additive, fogging oil. I need my oil. I use synthetic blend, my oil filter with the part number so you don't forget, your gear lube, and then that's basically my 6 steps. So you're definitely going to need roll paper towels. You're going to need oil all over the place on yourself, on your boat, possibly on your driveway. Gear lube. This is what I use. Quicksilver gear lube. I use synthetic blend. It's not full synthetic. It's very difficult to find full synthetic. I only put 20 to 30 hours a year on my boat, so definitely don't need full synthetic anyway. You're going to need your fogging oil, your oil filter. There's your model number. Definitely going to need a wrench. It's very difficult to get in there on this particular motor. Storage, you can use this for your fuel stabilizer for storage. Some people use the marine as well. I've never used that. You're going to need your ears to hook up to your drive. Okay, can't run your motor without water. Oil filter so you don't make a mess. And your gear lube pump. So we're going to go outside, start the boat, let it run for about 15 minutes or so, get it up nice and warm, and then we'll drain our oil out and drain the block. And we'll go on to the next step. Thanks. All right, before you fire up the boat, you're going to want to add your fuel stabilizer. All depends on how much fuel you have in the tank. Some people say fill the tank up all the way to avoid any moisture getting in the tank, but I don't do it. Mine's, I don't know, 2/3 full. That's fine for me. I've never done that, but you can fill it up if you want. All right, boys and girls, we're going to hook up our ears. You can get these at Walmart. You can get them at any boat supply place. You can get them online. You want to hook it up right here from the back. Push them over the fence. Turn it on, start your boat. Alright, we've been running for a bit. Time to remove our air filter and spray our fogging oil. down the carburetor. Take this off. I've already taken the nut off. Okay, what I usually do is I'll spray it down there a couple times and then just spray it until it chokes out and stalls. And there you go. All right, for this next step, before you drain your block, what I do, chock your wheels, okay? Put a block of wood underneath there. If you're strong enough to lift it up there, great. If not, get somebody to help you, for God's sakes, and get that thing up about 4 inches and crank that thing up so that you have a nice grade going towards the back of the boat. This is so that when you drain your block, all that water goes out the back instead of coming up into your boat and then freezing over the winter bad. All right, so we're going to shut our water off. Take your ears off. Take your plug out. When you do that on this Bayliner, they have a handy little chain that hooks up to your oil discharge tube, which is awesome. You just take that out and drain your oil out, which we're going to do that here in just a second. But first, we're going to go up and drain this block. And again, with Bayliner, everything they do is to make it easy for the owner, which is part of the reason why this boat is so popular. So this is your drain manifold. You drain your block and exhaust manifold. Remove this tube. There's little catches on there. And remove, as you can see, it's already pouring out. And remove this tube. And shove those towards the back. And that'll drain your block down. Sorry, I can't get a good view. But it is draining. So let that go a bit, and while you're doing that, you can get prepared to drain your oil. Before you drain your oil, one step that I want to mention to you, what I always do is when this is done draining, just to be safe, I disconnect it here. Okay, you're gonna have them same fittings. Just pull that off there. Just a push button pulls off. There's one, just in case there's any water in that tube. And pull that off right there. You can't really screw it up when you put it back on. Pretty simple. All right, get yourself a couple of wrenches to take this plug out of the oil drain tube and get that out of there and let that drain. It's probably going to take a good 30 minutes for all that oil to come out of there. Once you get about 10 minutes in, you're probably going to want to take the oil filter out, which I'll show you here in just a minute. All right, it's time to take your oil filter out on the 175 BR Bayliner. Your oil filter's on the left-hand side, right there, that white thing right there. I put about 5 or 6 paper towels in the bottom of the boat because I personally don't like cleaning up oil. I hate it. Make sure you have an oil filter wrench. You may be able to get it out with your hands. Unlikely. There are other tricks like belts and all these other things, but just get yourself a wrench. You'll have one forever. Before you do that, I highly recommend you take out this wire harness, okay? There's a little tab here. Pull that out. I gotta set the phone down. What I did was I pulled out that wire harness and this tube, okay? Because it's in the way. Give it a little turn, pull it off. This will help your oil drain down too. See what I mean? Is that oil there? Yeah. Okay, while you're waiting for that little bit of oil to finish draining, you want to take your plug out for your gear lube. There's a drain plug here for the vent. You'll need to open that. Open this first. There's one on the bottom. Get yourself a nice big fat screwdriver, flathead. May have to move the motor up a little bit. Let's see. Nope. All right, also, there is a gasket in here. Do not lose that gasket or you'll be running to the boat parts store. Get that drain pan underneath there. Don't drop that in there either, man. Make sure that gasket comes out. Gasket's actually up underneath my fingernail. And your gear loop's starting to drain out. That gasket is tore up. See that blue thing there? So I'm going to replace it. I actually have another one. Take your vent out. And again, there's going to be a gasket in there. Be careful not to lose that. That one you can just hang out in there. You can take your cap off right here. Let that drain down. And once that empties out, doesn't look like I've got any water in there. That's a good sign. Don't lose your cap, man. While you're waiting for your gear lube to drain down, get your oil filter in there. This is about drained out. That gasket right there, you want to put a little bit of oil on that so it seats up nice. You're going to have oil right here. So get yourself a little bit of oil. Put it on that ring. thread that on there. Be very careful not to cross thread it. Take your time. Snug it up. I usually give it one little twist with my wrench, but not too tight. Then put your harness back on. And your tube. No mess. All right, our gear lube is still draining. Takes a very long time. Put your oil plug back in. And we'll go ahead and add your oil. It's going to take 4 quarts for the Bayliner 175 BR. Tighten that up with a wrench. All right, we're going to add our oil for the 175 BR. It takes 4 quarts. Again, it's 25W40 synthetic blend. Again, have your paper towels handy. Please post below how many paper towels you have used to this point. I have used about 12. Pull your oil cap out. Don't lose it. Please, God, use a funnel. Today is actually October 20th. I'm in Ohio. It's going to be a beautiful day. Nice boating day, actually. It's going to be about 72, 73 degrees today. But it's getting down in the high 30s at night. It's time to put this boy to bed. I guess it's a girl. I called her the maiden pirate. So while we're doing this, this is a 2011 Bayliner. I bought it brand new in January of 2012 at the boat show. Bought my last 3 boats at the boat show. Saved like $5 grand on this boat. New from 2011. And so this is actually my 8th time. 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. My 8th time I've done this exact process, and my boat has been perfect. The only thing I've spent was $92 to put it, or to tighten up the belt, because it was getting a little squeaky. I didn't want to do it, so I had the pros do it. They charged me 92 bucks. That's the only money I've put into this boat since 2012. It's October 20th, 2019. All right, that's about that. Put your cap back on. All right, before you put your plugs back in, this one here, the bottom one, that has a magnet on it, okay? And that will collect any kind of metal that could get into that lower unit. It'll stick to that guy right there. So clean that off with a paper towel, okay? Or whatever, rag. That's my new gasket. So I'm gonna order another one. So case I need one next year. All right, we're gonna go ahead and add our gear lube. You're gonna need about 2 quarts or so, roughly. And this is the fitting, the adapter for the bottom of your lower unit. Okay, I had multiple kits for these pumps. I ended up buying a Mercury, I believe it is, OEM one, because the threads that are in the bottom of this thing, with the cheaper kits, it just doesn't seal up right, and it'll end up coming out. Trust me, you got to get a good one, otherwise you'll be fighting it and you'll have gear lube all over the place. So, and maybe even lose all your oil. So go ahead and thread that in. Our lube, I should say. And that thing is awesome. If you get a cheap one or stick plastic in there, you're going to be sorry. It's from experience. All right, so your tube hooks up here to the bottom. Make sure your cap is up top. And again, make sure this is at least over 70 degrees, because if it isn't, you're gonna have a hard time pumping it up. And when that's drained down, don't put your oil vent cap back in, okay? It's really important. Pump it up until it reaches and starts to come out of there a little bit out of the oil vent. Once that does, at that point, you can put the oil vent in, the cap back in, and pump it up to the reservoir. Watch your reservoir, how far it goes up. All right, I've lowered this down a little bit, and we're gonna go ahead and pump that up. And again, you're going to do this until you start seeing gear lube right there. And then when that happens, stop, put your vent plug in. I think you get the idea. All right, we've switched over to our next bottle here, so we're probably going to be really close. There we go. There she comes. Gives you another reason to use your paper towel. Put your plug back in. Snug it up. And continue to pump it until you start seeing your reservoir come up. I'm about 3/4 full, so it's not going to be yet. As a side note, very important, on the bottom plug, you can see I got a new gasket. There's my old one, it was all tore up. No water though. There's a magnet on there. You'll want to clean that off. That magnet helps to collect any metal shavings that may be in that lower unit that could cause damage. Okay. Here's a reservoir. It's not quite where it needs to be when it's cold. It's just got to come up a little bit more. So we'll pump that up until the reservoir gets to where it needs to be, and we'll put our plug back in. Okay, next thing we're going to do is going to put our plug back in. Super important again that you clean that off ahead of time in case there's any metal on there. I got my new gasket on there. I like to think of this as a 4 paper towel job, because you're going to pull that out and you're going to want to very quickly put that plug back in and tighten it up. I already removed the pump from the gear lube bottle, so we're just going to get ready here. Our plug, take this out. Paper towels. We're at about 20 right now. Tighten this up. Yeah, and tighten it up, but don't put way too much torque on it so you can crack your gasket. This stuff, I've been using this for years, and all I do is pump the rest of it out into the bottle, and then I get some hot water, pump hot water through it and let it dry out before I put it away in my box. Shouldn't have to buy one every year. It's a good one. I always leave my boat plug out over the winter. Do not forget to put your plug in. I watched a guy with a brand new $50,000 bass boat put his boat in the water, and he started taking in water. He turned the pump on. By the time he got it up to the ramp, the boat sunk. His truck, water weighs over 8 pounds a gallon, I believe. That truck could not pull the boat out of the water. So I don't know what he did, but yeah, don't forget to put your plug in. All right, all we've got left now is cleanup. One of the things that I do, you probably want to maintain your battery if you're not going to replace it. I replace my battery every single year. In the spring, I buy a new battery, spend $100 or whatever it is for a new marine battery. Then I take the old battery, or the previous year's battery, and I put it in a battery box behind the driver's seat. Because I have had a problem over the 30 years that I've been boating, where I get out there and I try to start my boat, or you got a problem on the lake, and guess what? You've got a backup battery. Keep that thing charged up. Keep your other battery charged up. That thing has saved me twice. And actually one time I ended up having to use it to start my car because I stupidly left lights on my car. So I had a backup battery and I just pulled it out of there. It was awesome. Anyway, that's what I do. You don't need to do that. Just maintain your battery, of course. But if you're out on the water and you go to start your boat and you don't have it, there's no trolling motor on this boat. I could probably get somebody to tow me back, but I don't want it. So I recommend keeping an extra battery on your boat. Also, before you're done, go ahead and lower You drive down your lower unit down as low as you can, so that if there's any water, which there was a little bit in mine, empties out, because you don't want to take any chances of that freezing and causing damage as well. But that should be it. All right, so that's going to about do it. If you have any questions, put them below. I'll be glad to answer questions for you. There's a lot of, different forums out there that have other tips. There might be a better process out there, I'm not sure, but this has worked for me. Some guys change their oil in the springtime. I personally think you should probably change your oil in the fall when you do your gear lube. Put your storage stabilizer in and all that good stuff, because there's contaminants in that oil that can pit the internal engine components. If you're not putting a lot of hours on the boat, probably not going to make a difference, but honestly, I do it in the fall. There are guys and girls that change their oil in the fall, and before they break, it's sitting there for 6 months most of the time if you're in the Midwest, and they change it again before they take their boat out. I don't do that personally. I never have, but I think you need to at least change it once a year. Whether you're doing it in the spring or the fall, I recommend in the fall. So again, if you have any questions, post them below, and thanks for watching.